what do you think about the multitudes of third-party projects launching on PulseChain? Do you think this is a net benefit for the chain or a net detriment, or could it be both? And why or why not?
I think it's a natural, just kind of, I don't know how to describe it, beautiful chaos. It's
Like that.
when PulseChain launches, yeah, it's just going to be, we have this ecosystem. We have the ecosystems we're taking, and there are going to be there from all the coins you've got from the fork, all the airdrop, all that stuff and some of the platforms may support PulseChain, flip the switches, make things work for the customers, especially the ones that the whales, in ETH 2.0 that have a lot of link, they have a lot of mana, they have a lot of this and that. It's either in their client's best interest to make them work on the platform, or maybe the products themselves say, hey, cheap fees, this stuff never worked on ETH, or maybe it won't work on ETH for another couple of years because they need to make more improvements. Let's do PulseChain for a while. So the communities, we're going to get a bunch of communities that are coming from ETH. That's one. And then all the projects that are launching, that's just going to be, a lot of them are going to be scams who don't know they're scams yet, but eventually they're going to be like, this is not a good idea, but we tried real hard. We're sorry. There's going to be a percentage of those on there, of course, which happens with every chain. It's definitely not. If you have enough projects, eventually somebody's going to have a bad idea and they're going to run with it. It's just going to happen.
Oh, absolutely.
And then there's going to be a small percentage. They're just going to be like, I call the blue chips is the RH ecosystem. Blue chips is Hex, PulseChain, PulseX. There's going to be blue chips within the ecosystem, as well. From that, not sure what it'll be yet. What a lot of the nothing is launched on PulseChain yet, so it's hard to see how that'll shake out. I certainly have a few different projects that I'm excited to use, but there's going to be maybe 1 to 5% of the projects that like everyone use. Like, hey, if you interact with PulseChain, like you need to use this, you need to use that product, or I use PulseChain for this product because it's on there, because it's on the chain. And then there's going to be a bunch of, the majority of the projects, maybe 80, 90% of this, we're just going to have to see how they shake out. They're either, what happens? Do we find bugs in the code and they need to fork, or did they just not succeed, or are they just not good for the ecosystem? Like they don't benefit the blue chips. They don't benefit Hex or PulseChain. They just kind of like are sucking economic energy. We'll have to figure that out. And then some of them will just be like, okay, now here's a place to put your money. A lot of people will just use it. Especially if they're in this ecosystem, they want to stay inside the ecosystem, such as like a person like me. And we'll get into the maximalism thing, I'm sure, in a little bit too. It could be a place to put your wealth, to place your bets, to be in an ecosystem that and you communicate with, and you kind of place your chips where you think the best place to put them is, and hopefully watch them multiply, especially with the staking tokens and platforms. So the beautiful chaos when it launches, it's going to be, the pre-bridge is going to be nuts. The ratio trading is going to be nuts. The communities that come over, the products that support PulseChain, the products that launch immediately or are copied over and just start working. And there's been a lot of projects that have launched on Ethereum already, but they're made for Pulse, like Pulse Dogecoin, for example. Like that's a meme coin for we know what it's for. So that's going to be copied over. So there's going to be a whole price discovery that goes through all these coins as well. And then the ones that take a long time, we'll see, how quick does liquid loans launch? Does it take them a few weeks or a few months before they want to, settle things down so people don't get called on their loans so quickly with a lot of volatility? There's like things like that a lot of the products need to work around. And we'll see who's ready too. That's another thing. There's a lot of projects that haven't showed a lot of screenshots or a lot of progress, or people have sacked for them, and we haven't seen test nets we can play with yet. Are they just holding all the cards close to the chest, and they're just going to make this huge splash when PulseChain launches, or do they need more dev time? So that's going to be the discussion, the activity, just the ambiance of PulseChain is just going to wreck crypto in a good way. Like it's just going to be proliferate all through the system, because it's the only thing going on. It's the only game in town, and just so happens to be the best game as well.
Oh, absolutely. Very well said. I say this a lot, and I stress this a lot on my channel when it comes to third-party projects. And as an individual who literally got into PulseChain as a streamer, getting third-party projects a platform, which was my shtick for a while, I consistently say that like I give these third-party projects a platform, many of them, because I believe that they're legitimate. I believe that they have value. I believe that they will bring value to PulseChain. But have I sacrificed for any of them? No. And because the fact that like you have to be, and this doesn't undermine any of them by any means, but like when you look at layer ones, it doesn't matter what layer one it is. When you look at that and you say to yourself, well, there's going to be an immense amount of projects that launch on PulseChain that will be nefarious, that haven't even come into existence yet. There will be many projects that launch on PulseChain that will end up being rug pulls. Some of them, many of them will fail, just like on any other chain. This is not an anomaly for PulseChain. This is a ubiquity in almost every chain. Doesn't matter if it's Phantom, doesn't matter if it's AVAC, doesn't matter if it's Ethereum, doesn't matter if it's BSC, doesn't matter if it's PulseChain. But there will be some, I believe few, when I say few, like a sum, like 1 to 5%, like you said, is actually a perfect metric, that will succeed and do very good things for PulseChain, whether it be multi-chain technology, creating collateralized loans, allowing for people to leverage trade hex, NFTs, for example, bring NFT individuals and enthusiasts to PulseChain. There's a lot to be said about that value. And it's just about weaving through all that. And I caution a lot of people when PulseChain launches consistently to be very, very careful about those specific projects, any project that launches on PulseChain or any layer one that you use, because it's just like many of them are not audited and they come with their own quirks and they could fail, they could be nefarious, but they could succeed. But that's why I like use a shitload of caution. Like use a massive amount of caution.